You're listening to Son of a Witch Podcast with Mike D, the podcast about witchy, paranormal, geeky, pagan, comic, pop culture awesomeness. Available anywhere podcasts are heard. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Son of a Witch Podcast with your favorite podcast host, Mike D. That's me. That rhymed because I'm a dork. But anyway, so this week I am going back to the original format. We took a little bit of a break for the Samhain Special Parts 1 and 2, and I still have a bonus episode coming for that. I wanted to give everyone just a little bit of time to be able to go ahead and absorb, take in all the goodness and spookiness and information from the Samhain Special. Now that that is out and has been very well received, we're going to get right back into what we typically do. I've got a lot of good information and fun topics for you this week. I am going to be going over a magical herb of the week. That herb will also be highlighted in a magical oil that you can make with said herb. We're going to go over what's flicking my wand and boiling my cauldron. We're also going to talk about an extremely fun topic, Baba Yaga. So first of all, let me kind of touch on a few announcements as I typically do. This past week has been interesting. The Mercury retrograde, I hope that it was good for you guys. For me, it kind of had its way with me. It was very challenging. Mercury retrograde, as you may or may not know, is not particularly fond of technology and electronics, and it made that known to me. I had lots of issues with technology. Part 1 was a challenge, but a fun challenge and an educational one to get that edited and recorded, to be exact. And I have now learned a new editing process, so we are going to be going through that going forward. It's a very interesting editing program. It allows me to do a lot more. I'm also, hopefully by the end of this year, will have a new piece of hardware that is going to make life a bit easier and gonna let me add a little bit more actually a lot more production value to the show. So that's something to look forward to as well. I'm excited about that. I've also been watching, and I have had so many really gracious and kind comments. I've had some new reviews on Apple, which is one of the very few places that allow you to leave a review, and that makes me happy. Thank you for those that have done that. I really appreciate your kind words. I've also had a interesting week in that I've had a lot of new revelations. It was as though Mercury retrograde ended and provided me with rewards for making it through that. Yesterday in particular was a very good day. I've also had some new opportunities open up. As you may or may not have heard, I am going to be doing a podcast convention, or I'm going to be taking part in a podcast convention, rather, on December the 4th, and I will be giving you some more information as we get closer to that. But December the 4th, when I do that, the show will be live, not pre-recorded, not edited, just me, raw, talking to you about some fun Yule-related topics. So that's something you can put on your calendars and look forward to. I've also had some people recently that have started purchasing merch, and I really appreciate that. That is about the only monetization or way of making money for the show. I will say that the show is a labor of love. It is a passion project of mine that has far exceeded my expectations, as you've heard me mention before. But I will also say that the show is not free for me to do. I've had to buy some equipment and things like that. And this merch shop is about the only way at this point that I'm willing to take anything back for that. I could very easily a while back have added through my podcast host a button that would allow people to donate. I did not want to do that. I do have a Patreon coming up, and that I feel a little more comfortable about, much like the merchandise shop. With the merchandise shop, yes, you are supporting the show, and that does help me out, and I greatly appreciate it for everyone that has bought something already. But with the Patreon, much like the merchandise shop, you're getting something tangible for your money. And even though I've had many people tell me, hey, look, you're giving us good information, you're helping us learn, you're teaching us things, and that is my goal for this, but I didn't start it to make money. And as I go further into the show with the success that I have had with it, I am looking to add more production value, to add more quality and add more features and things like that. So by doing a Patreon, there will be, as you may or may not be aware, different tiers. The first tier will be $1. And for that, I'll have a certain little, how do I put this? Basically for each tier, you're going to get something. For the smaller tiers, you'll get a little something. For the higher tiers, you're going to get even more. So part of that is going to be exclusive content that I will be recording, sometimes audio, sometimes I will be recording video. And that is going to be something that no one but the patrons of the Patreon can access. I will also be including information, outtakes, behind the scenes topics, things like that. And eventually next year, a certain level of that will allow you to join in on the courses that I'm going to be doing. So that is coming soon. So stay tuned and I will keep you posted on the Instagram, on the website, sonofawitchpod.com. The Instagram is at sonofawitchpod, and you can find me on Facebook at sonofawitchpod as well. So that is about all I've got for announcements right now. Nope, I take that back. I do have another exciting thing that has occurred just yesterday. I received word that an article I submitted will be published in the November issue of a witch-related magazine, and I am super stoked for that. So that I will have more information about. It is an online magazine, and I will be giving you guys links and all sorts of information for that. So I'm really honored to be a part of that because it is a very quality publication, and I am super stoked to be working with some more people that I can learn with, that I can maybe share my experiences with. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Now, let's take a little quick break, and then I am going to come right back, and we are going to dive right into what is flicking my wand. Again, guys, I can't say that without laughing. And what's boiling my cauldron. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. So we are to the part of the show now. What's flicking my wand and what's boiling my cauldron. So flicking my wand this week. I, as you may have heard before, love doing pendulum work. Pendulums for me, I use for all manner of things. I do use them for divination. I also use them for healing. If you're not aware, you can actually use pendulums to kind of clear some of your chakras throughout your body. And that's a topic that I'm going to get into probably next week when I dive heavier into pendulum work and give you guys a little bit of an introduction on how to use them if you've never done so. I do also do tarot, read tarot, and I do that mainly for myself. I don't really do it very often known for anyone, I definitely don't do readings with it. And it's not that I can't, it's just that when you do readings for people, sometimes they're not very pleased with what the cards tell you. And I understand that because sometimes I'm not pleased with what the cards tell me. I have been known to ask a question and my cards basically just say, fuck you, I've already answered that. Next question, please. And that's just the way the cards work. But I do readings occasionally for friends and family and things like that. And I do love tarot. Tarot, for me, is kind of a glimpse into the higher self. And I find that it gives me a lot of clarity at times. There have been different decks that I have had over the years. I have one right now called the Crow Tarot, which is by MJ Cullinane. I think I'm saying that right. And that is amazing. Crows are my thing. I love crows. Crows and ravens, but particularly crows. And I do kind of, I don't know, I would say that might very well be my spirit animal. Crows are amazing. Crows have all sorts of interesting, fun facts that I will get into a little bit later in another show maybe. But I also have a new tarot deck, and it is one that I have been waiting on for quite some time, and that is the Edgar Allan Poe Tarot. And that is an amazing tarot deck. Each card basically depicts a story or a poem or something, one of the works of Poe. So they kind of do it in such a way that the artwork goes hand in hand with each tarot card. The box that it came in is amazing. It is a hard box that has a magnetic side to it. And when you lift it open, there is just some amazing artwork already jumping right out at you. The companion book that came with it, I don't call it a guide because it is an actual book. I mean, it is every bit as big as any book you would buy at the bookstore. And it is filled with so much amazing artwork. It also goes over each card and the meaning. It gives you a tarot spread related to that deck, and it's just amazing. I love it. I love it. I love it. There is a video on my Instagram and as well as the YouTube channel that you can watch, which is an unboxing when I first got it. And I'm going to be doing a card by card review here pretty soon that you can kind of see the artwork of each card and get a better idea and better feel for what the deck is like. So if you're also interested and a Poe fan as I am, you can decide whether or not you want to get that deck. Most people that I know who have tarot decks or even pendulums normally can't get enough of them, and it's kind of an addiction, and I would say I'm the same way. So this new tarot deck is amazing, and I'm going to dive into it wholeheartedly this weekend, and I will give you guys some more updates on that. So that is what is flicking my wand right now. As far as what's boiling my cauldron, aside from the obvious that we're still in limbo awaiting election results and things like that, and again, you guys know I don't get political on this show and I'm not going to do so now, but aside from the stress and anxiety that people are feeling because of that, the other thing that's flicking my wand is I have encountered a couple of times in recent weeks gatekeeping, and I am sick of that shit. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Gatekeeping, if you don't know what that means, basically people telling you what you can and cannot do with your practice. And I am not for that at all, especially when the people are not educated on certain things and are wrong. And then when you point out to them and prove to them that something they said is wrong, they just dive even deeper into trying to convince you that you're doing something that you either shouldn't be or that you can't do. For instance, I had someone recently tell me that the only practice that honors or works with deities and nature is Wicca, and that is the biggest crock of shit I've ever heard in my life. That's not true at all. And that witchcraft is simply working with magic exclusively. You're not working with deities, you're not working with nature, herbs, things like that. It is just magic work, spell work. That's absolutely incorrect. Now, I'm not saying that there may not be people who identify as a witch that only do magic, that don't really work with deities, because you don't have to work with deities. But what that person said is inaccurate. Witchcraft is working with magic. And as far as my definition, and you're going to find if you have 20 people, you'll probably have 20 different variations of how it's explained. But for me, I read about Wicca a lot in my earlier years, and Wicca just did not jump out at me. And this is just my personal opinion, but it didn't jump out at me because it was more, I would say, on the religion side. It's more structured, more patriarchal, in my opinion, at least in how it started. It's largely attributed to Gerald Gardner, and there was a lot of patriarchy to it in the beginning. Not saying that it's that bad now, but I don't know. I did not like it. I had people telling me that as a solitary practitioner, that I couldn't be a witch because I had to be in a coven and be initiated, and I have very strong views on that as well. And just to briefly touch on it, basically, you may be a solitary practitioner by choice, or you may be that way by just your environment. You might not know any other witches. You might be in a very closed-minded area, or you might just not want to tell people. And I think it's really absurd to assume, and definitely to assert, that someone who practices solitary cannot be a witch. You can do self-initiations. Raymond Buckland talked about it. Scott Cunningham talked about it. It really doesn't make sense to me because if you think about it, witchcraft had to start somewhere. And back during the time that we call it the old religion, or I do anyway, think about it. There weren't a whole lot of people that would outwardly talk about witchcraft because you could be killed for that. So they had to initiate themselves at some point. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me. I'm not going to get too deep into it because it is a bit of a rabbit hole that we can go down, and maybe I'll touch on it in another show at some point. But don't be that person. Don't be the one that tells people how they can and cannot do their own personal daily practice. That is what draws people to witchcraft so much, is that you can there are certain things like, certain closed practices, and there are certain rules to magic and things like that. But for the most part, you can kind of tailor it to what works for you. You can work with the deities that you want. You cannot work with deities altogether. It's just a hodgepodge melting pot of ideas and information that you can make your own. And that's what I love about the craft. So when this person said that, and I even told them that they were incorrect, I even put up definitions from the Oxford Dictionary, and I was told, try a real dictionary. Well, Oxford's about as fucking real as you can get. But I went ahead and did Merriam-Webster and all that as well. But this person was just not going to listen to reason. And the thing that made it even worse is that they were in a big group of people, and the majority of the group was saying, look, you're wrong, and we don't really do that type of thing here. One of the rules, for crying out loud, is no gatekeeping. So don't be that person. That's what's boiling my cauldron this week. And that's really about it. I've had a pretty good week, as I say. Mercury retrograde is over, and I am so thankful for that. And I've had a lot of good things, as I touched on in the announcements at the beginning of the show. So I'm going to take another quick pause, and then I'm going to be right back with the magical herb of the week. All right, everybody, welcome back. So we are now to the part of the show where I give you a magical herb of the week. And today's herb is one that I have used quite a bit in the past, and it's one that I really like, so thought that I would talk a little bit about it with you. And that is star anise. It's more of a spice, really, I guess you could say, but star anise, technical term is Elysium verum. It's commonly associated as a moon herb. It can be carried whole for luck. It's burned for clairvoyance. It's known to increase psychic awareness. Some people even make a necklace out of the stars because it looks like a star. And in hoodoo, which you've heard me mention a few times, star anise is put under a pillow in order to dream of someone far away. It's also added to mojo bags in that tradition. Others say that star anise keeps away nightmares. So if you have trouble with that, you can always try it then. And it's also great for new moon work since it is dark. It's really aromatic. Just a small handful ground up is enough to strongly scent a jar of oil, and it makes an incense all on its own. So really nice. Now, it is native to China and Vietnam. It was first introduced to Europe in the 1600s. In Mandarin China, the seeds were once chewed as a kind of after-dinner mint. Like I said, it's commonly referred to as a spice as well. It's widely used in Chinese cooking. It's also a component in 5 spices. So it does have a strong licorice flavor, which I'm not terribly fond of. Licorice to me, unless it's red licorice, is not that great. I know a lot of people really enjoy it, but I'm not one of those people. So medicinally, star anise is traditionally used for stomach pains. So if you have stomach pains, you can try that. Also bronchitis and even for rheumatism. So you can actually make a liqueur out of it. I might throw that in as a little bit of a bonus on the website. I'm not going to go into that right now. It's a stimulating kind of herb, so encouraging, things like that. As I said, it does have a distinct scent of black licorice. It also tastes kind of like that also. But anise essential oil can help you increase your psychic ability. It also stimulates vision, and it can ward off the evil eye. If you don't know what the evil eye is, I may bring that up in another episode, but that's commonly referred to in Italian folklore and things like that. So you can use it for protection or purification. So if you make this oil, you'll want to put that in maybe like 10 to 15 drops in a ritual bath. So you can use that right before you do any work. As I said, it can ward off nightmares. So if you have bad dreams or night visitors, you can sprinkle a few drops on your pillow or just place a few drops in some oil burners around the house, and that'll help purify the home as well. It is associated with the metaphysical element of air. It's ruled by Mercury and Jupiter, and it can help you contact higher planes of knowledge for divination. So psychic development, psychic protection are big features of this herb, and clairvoyance is strongly associated with the use of anise. So the Jupiterian influence brings good luck, fertility, weddings, love and happiness. Apollo is also commonly associated with anise, so it can be used in ritual devotions to him. In addition to fighting bad dreams, burning it before bedtime can also stimulate prophetic dreams and give you some information about the future as well. So now we know about anise and some of its uses. So I am going to now give you a little bit of a recipe that you can try to do on your own. And if you don't have, say, you can throw it in the hearth fire. So let's say also if you don't have any charcoal incense disc, just toss that in your fireplace, star anise, and light it up. And it can enchant your hearth. It can fill the home with a warm, soothing kind of scent. And you're going to get that protection aspect to it as well. And you can also make some really cool natural fire starters out of it. You can combine it with cinnamon sticks and steep it in hot water, and that makes a really good psychic tea to use before divination or to heighten kind of your dream abilities. You can feature it for Yule or other pagan presents. So next time you give something to somebody in your coven or a witchy friend, wrap it in plain paper and then glue star anise all over it in patterns or just randomly. It's really nice for protection charms also, or dream related gifts. You can make candle rings for winter sabbats like Yule that's coming up soon. It does look really pretty and natural on your altar. And you can also slow cook it in oil for a dream potion. So you want to cook it very low heat and very slowly, but you cook it in a natural oil like olive, coconut, jojoba, something like that. And then you can use that to anoint your wrist or your temples before bedtime. Now with anything, you always want to kind of test it on an innocuous spot first. Make sure you don't have any type of reaction to it. So use that at your own risk, but it can can help you, if you're getting ready to go to bed and you want to kind of have a little bit of prophetic dreaming or do some astral travel, things like that as well. So that is Star Anise. So I'm going to go ahead and take another quick pause, and then I will be right back with the topic of the week. All right, everybody, and we are now to the topic of the week. If you have been keeping up with the Instagram page at Son of a Witch Pod, then you already may have an idea of what that is going to be about, and that is Baba Yaga. Baba Yaga is well known in Slavic mythology, and she's kind of viewed in Slavic folklore as the crone witch, often kind of referred to as a hag. She's really well known for a story which I will post to the website as an additional little bit of information about Vasilisa the Fair. Sometimes you may hear it referred to as Vasilisa the Brave or Vasilisa the Beautiful. Baba Yaga is featured in that, and it's kind of a popular Russian folklore tale. So Baba Yaga's myths, though, over the centuries have kind of made her viewed, I would say, as the wicked witch of the forest, often seen as ugly and old with a very long nose, sometimes iron teeth. However, if you think about it, elderly women are often revered, and their wisdom and advice typically stands kind of true through the test of time. So on a side note, because I am a movie fanatic and I love Keanu Reeves and the John Wick movies, if you've seen those movies, you might remember in the very first movie, the villain, Viggo Tarasov, he's explaining kind of to his son, who has foolishly stolen John Wick's car and killed his dog, that John Wick is known as Baba Yaga, or the boogeyman. The only problem is that Baba Yaga isn't the boogeyman. Baba Yaga is a very particular other kind of nightmarish creature, a witch who lives in a house that stands on chicken legs and is constantly moving. She is known to lure people into her house, sometimes to give them advice and answer questions and have tea, and sometimes tossing them into her oven and devouring them. Many kind of credit, because of that, Baba Yaga with being the inspiration for the Brothers Grimm fairy tale Hansel and Gretel. Well, I guess you could classify Baba Yaga as a boogeyman of sorts. She isn't the boogeyman that lives under your bed and frightens you if you don't sleep. That's Babeka or Babe. And basically, I guess you could see kind of because of that how the director, or I guess the screenwriter of John Wick, could have gotten it a little confused. A Babe is a boogeyman, one of a certain type, not a specific person or creature. They kind of haunt the streets, lingering outside homes of children, and if the children won't sleep, they'll make noises and sometimes sneak in to capture them and put them in their sack. Like the British boogeyman, Babe is particularly associated with sleep, and he can also lurk under the bed, according to folklore. Baba Yaga, as we mentioned, though, lives in the woods, again in a hut on chicken legs. So although they're kind of similar in the name, their particular brand of tormenting children is a bit different. So the Russian language kind of adopted Baba for old woman, hence babushka. And there's even an entire dessert named after the really kindly grannies that make them, babkas, and they are really good. So, but Baba Yaga is associated with the dark forest, death, rebirth, sickness, dying, but also healing and renewal, sage wisdom and advice that kind of comes from an experience of a long life. Her wise grandmother energy can kind of be strict and harsh, but it's typically for your own well-being. She's sort of like that grandmother that whacks you with the wooden spoon when you misbehave, or gives you kind of a foul-tasting medicine or bitter medicine to make you feel better, and then tell you to buck up when you wallow in self-pity. So all the while, even though it's kind of tough love, she's teaching you to be independent and self-sustaining, to stand on your own 2 feet sort of thing. She's not really, though, of this world or the next. She's kind of in between worlds or betwixt worlds. A sense of something heavy, but also sweet in the air of forest and dark nights. And because of that, her energies most strongly or commonly felt in the autumn, leading up to Mabon and Samhain, as the leaves are kind of changing color and the temperatures are getting cooler. So that's at least how I typically feel more connected or closer to the mythology and folklore of Baba Yaga. As I said, she's not really of this world, and because of that, she remains kind of otherworldly between the physical world and the spirit world or the underworld. She, as I pointed out, is kind of referred to or seen almost entirely as a crone witch. She's often referred to as a goddess. A dark goddess archetype would kind of be more the correct term, I guess you would say. And her magical home, again, like I said, rests on two chicken legs or feet, and it walks and spins through the forest and constantly moving, but she is known to be able to recite a special incantation that can make the house stop in one place. If you ever do any type of meditation concerning Baba Yaga, or if you've seen images, artwork, things like that that are depicted of her, you'll see that her hut's kind of surrounded by a fence made of human bones and human skulls, and she travels in a flying mortar. And yeah, I mean like a mortar and pestle mortar. And she carries a broomstick, or most commonly referred to as a silver broomstick, kind of like a witch, that she uses to sweep away her tracks. So she's always kind of being inconspicuous. Her home's kind of I would say strongly connected to her mythology. I mean, it's also associated with the familiarity of the home and kitchens of grandmas and grandmothers that so many of us grew up with and have fond memories of. Her home's not seen with your actual physical eyes, though, resting and kind of walking in the forest constantly. Her stories and the mythologies, they kind of connect her to being between the worlds, as we pointed out, but can also be related to stories of the fae and fairies who also kind of reside betwixt worlds. So she's not very easy to find. If you find her, it's typically because you really want to seek her out, or she really wants you to seek her out. And she doesn't, as I pointed out, even though she's known as kind of like a dark crone goddess who doesn't really exist in either world, but between them, she also doesn't reside in the underworld. She's just more or less connected to what it represents. So again, not exactly of the spirit world or the underworld, but not exactly of the physical world either. So her connection to death and mortality and frailty can kind of be connected to the same as like ghosts who roam the earth and the magic of the mythological forest creatures that you may have grown up hearing about. So I would say that even though she's revered and kind of viewed a lot of times as a wicked witch or a hag or scary, and a lot of the folklore does speak of her devouring people, but typically when that happens, it's because she has given you a task that you just did not complete or did not listen to her instructions or the advice she's given. A lot of people, though, don't really think that she is intimidating. She's very intimidating. She has a very strong presence, similar to Hecate, but you definitely get the feeling that she's not somebody you want to piss off or be disrespectful to, again, much like a grandmother type figure. But I would say, and a lot of others too, that she also offers healing from ailments and suffering through herbs and teas and wisdom and advice that she gives, based from her maturity and kind of old age. Wild crafting, using a lot of things from nature, herbs and things like that, and witchcraft from hexes and curses, also to breaking hexes and curses. So it's one of those things to where if you seek her out, I'm going to give you a way to kind of connect with Baba Yaga if you're interested. But if you seek her out, you want to be very certain that, one, you're in a good frame of mind, you're well rested. Don't do it like when you're at the end of your day or whatever else, because you don't want to go to her and not be giving her your full attention. I would also say that that you need to be very respectful and reverent. This is a meditation of sorts. And when you are in this meditation and you're kind of visualizing being with Baba Yaga, you want to treat her as though she is one of the most highly respected people that you've ever met. And if you are successful with the meditation, you will kind of get that impression. I mean, she is intimidating and kind of overbearing sometimes, and she often takes kind of joy in that fact. She knows that she scares people, and she knows that she's very powerful and wise. So sometimes I think that she has a bit of a sense of humor with it and kind of relishes in making people a little uneasy and nervous. But she's also can be very kind and help you out and offer you some wisdom as well. So if you want to connect with Baba Yaga, I'm going to give you a meditation technique that you can try. So basically, meditations and kind of separating of the self from your surroundings can help you meet Baba Yaga. It's a mental technique that I'm going to give you that kind of shifts the mindset or your frame of mind. And it can be done any place, indoors, outside. You can do it in a forest. Be aware of your surroundings, obviously, and make sure you're safe. And just do it somewhere, like I said, where you're safe, secure, and you won't be interrupted. You can use music or headphones to block out any outside noise if you have trouble kind of blocking out things and you're not in a place where you can be just completely silent and with your thoughts. And you can use incense as well to kind of create a relaxing atmosphere. I would recommend using like a woodsy scent. Ethically harvested Palo Santo or cedar or pine or even sandalwood are really good incense scents for this meditation. Now, if before going into this you feel like you have need for some additional psychic protection, you can use a protection amulet or charm if you have one, or some protective crystals such as, obsidian or black tourmaline. Smoky quartz is another good one. But basically what you're going to do, you're going to begin the meditation by pulling your energy to the center of your core, or drawing kind of within yourself. And there's two techniques that you can try next. The first technique is to kind of pull your energy upwards beyond your head and your shoulders. And this can kind of help create something similar to an out-of-body experience. So you might not be able to visually or physically see your surroundings with your eyes closed, but you should try to get a sense or a feeling of being kind of separate between your body and the spirit world. And then another technique you can try, if that one doesn't work out for you, you can kind of visualize pulling your energy to the left or right side of your body, almost as though you're kind of sliding out of your body. These two techniques are kind of different than raising your vibration through chakras or connecting with the source or the divine or spirit, such as you would in spirit communication. They can also kind of give you a feeling of being between the worlds, such as kind of like you're not quite of the physical world and not quite high vibrational enough to connect with spirit guides, divinity, Akashic records, and things like that. So the next step is done while you're in this meditation. In your mind's eye, you're going to picture yourself in a dark forest as you approach Baba Yaga's house. A fence of skull and bones lines the path towards the house. You may see Baba Yaga outside her home working in the yard, or she may come to the door to greet you. He's likely going to ask, "Why have you come to see me?" And you must answer truthfully. She will know if you're not being honest. Now, if she invites you in, you want to spend some time with her in her home. She could be talkative, could be jovial and kind of almost not sarcastic, but a little bit teasing, almost like a grandma may tease you or something like that. Or she could just be really quiet. So you're just going to kind of allow your meditation to unfold, allow it to kind of be what it needs to be for you. And when when you're finished with your meditation, you want to thank Baba Yaga, kind of proceed back to the place in the forest where you started. So as you're getting ready to end your meditation, you can kind of slowly ease back into your body, either through the head and the shoulders or through the left side or right side of your body. Now, if Baba Yaga has imparted wisdom or healing for you, if she's offered you tea with her, definitely drink the tea. You don't want to offend her by not accepting something like that, because that is somewhat of a gift to share a cup of tea with Baba Yaga. But if she's given you any kind of wisdom or healing or advice, things of that nature, it's typically customary to leave an offering on your altar or someplace in the home. And I'll go over in a minute kind of different offerings that are typically assumed to be good offerings for her. Now, if you're wanting to work with Baba Yaga, there's several reasons that you could seek her out. It could be advice on something. Now, don't make it trivial, like, am I going to get a date from this certain person, or am I going to be rich, or something like that. She doesn't want you wasting her time. But if it's something that you really need advice on, something really important to you, you could go to her and seek her out for that. You could seek her guidance on another important matter or on your spiritual path. You could also, let's say you're having some physical ailments and you need some healing. You could go and request that she assist you with that also. She's very knowledgeable with herbalism. So if you work with herbs a lot, you could seek her out for some knowledge with herbs and how to use them, when to use them, things of that nature. You could also, it kind of relates to herbs as well, but hedge witchcraft or kitchen witchery. Typically, Baba Yaga is in her house. A lot of people say that she has this huge iron stove that she's normally kind of leaned over cooking, and you can smell all these wonderful smells and hear bubbling of pots and things of that nature. And it's really very much like a grandma type feel. So the house is typically, even though it's on chicken legs and surrounded by human bones and skulls and things like that, it's also a very warm, kind of comforting feeling that you get when you're in there with her. So again, those are just some ideas that you could seek her out for. Now, she does typically give, very much like some of our tarot decks and things like that, she gives straightforward, non-sugar-coated advice. So she can also give you some knowledge and wisdom, but you have to respectfully request it. And you want to, if you're seeking her out for something like knowledge or things of that nature, you want to be very certain and not frivolous with it that you want to improve your witchery skills, because again, she will be able to tell if it's just kind of a fad or a passing thing or just something fun. So now her witchery expertise in herbology, as I said before, herbalism, and also using, wild things, natural things that, are found in nature and forest. She's very proficient with that, and she can help you with those areas also. Now, she can, again, like I said, give you wisdom and help teach you when it comes to witchcraft or folk magic and healing and things like that. As I pointed out, she's going to use a lot of natural items from the forest and nature that kind of bring healing in through the use of, say, like herbal salves or ointments or teas, tinctures, things that are used a lot in folk magic. If you work with herbs, again, she's very proficient in that. So she can also kind of help perfect that craft and improve your skill and your knowledge with those things and healing herbs. If you seek her out in meditation, she can, as I said before, offer healing teas and herbs that can kind of work to help ease your discomfort and make you feel better. Things like upset stomach or minor colds or allergies, rashes, headaches, etc. And a lot of times she will offer those things to you. And if she offers you tea, that's typically why. It's to help, with some healing or just to kind of help you feel better. Again, grandmas don't want their kids to be feeling bad. So very much the same vein. Baba Yaga is a lot the same way. Now, let's say you're looking for kind of the right herb for a spell, or you want to do some natural healing. You can call on her also to kind of guide you to the right resources or the right herbs or materials. You might even hear her tell you which you need. And then if you want, you can kind of look up to verify and confirm. Especially you want to make sure that there's not any potential side effects or anything like that. So, always use herbalism and things like that at your own risk. Herbs such as things from the nightshade family can be used when working with Baba Yaga. Obviously, you don't ingest or, you put anything like that on your skin. I wouldn't. And you want to be very safe there. But you can use those types of herbs to bring some healing, because typically in small doses, they can bring relief and healing. But again, those are a little tricky and can be dangerous. So use extreme caution and research before doing anything like that. And then we'll also look at, and again, guys, you do all that at your own risk. So just, you've been warned. But we can also kind of look, I had said I was going to give you some ideas of things you can leave as an offering. So when you're working with Baba Yaga, you want to give like an offering of thanks each time you make a connection with her, ask for her advice, guidance, or help. And even if you feel like, let's say you ask her something and she more or less kind of scoffs at you and says, "Oh, not right now," or something of that nature. Even if she doesn't give you the answer you want or feel like you need, then you still want to leave her an offering of thanks, because you have taken her time and she has given you her time. Now, if you know of poetry or words in Ukrainian or Russian or Polish or, any type of Slavic language, you can give thanks to her in those languages. And at your altar, you can also leave little tokens to kind of thank her as well. Tobacco and cigarettes are a good one. Vodka, obviously. And you could also do food. Typically, you want to do like Slavic or Russian or Ukrainian type things. Borscht or pierogies or Russian breads or potato pancakes, things like that. You can decorate your altar with some wheat, or there are also, and I'll post this on the website as well, some embroideries and things like that, traditional embroidered towel rugs and things of that nature, nesting dolls, or decorated Ukrainian eggs, skull decorations, bones, and of course you want those to be ethically gathered or sourced. And you can even use images or statues of Baba Yaga and or her house. So you can find a lot of those online. If you just search Baba Yaga, you're going to see all sorts of artwork on there. You want to do those offerings typically right after the meditation. But now if you asked for healing, let's say something's bothering you, you're not feeling well, and you're not really feeling well enough to make the offerings right away, you can do it as soon as you're physically able to. And you can also leave offerings like this in forest, at the foot of a tree, or maybe a special area if you plan on working with her a lot that you've kind of dedicated outside for Baba Yaga specifically. So that's pretty much what I've got, guys. I mean, there's tons of other folklore and mythology, and like I say, there's different folk tales that she is featured in, and I'll post some of those on the website. You may or may not know that I've got a new page where I post certain images or additional information that I didn't have time to cover on the show for each episode, and I'll post those within probably by Saturday or Sunday, and so you can kind of see that. I'm going to also post some things, as I typically do once the show is out, on the Instagram page that will give you a little more insight into some of the things that I mentioned on the show as well. So hope that that gave you some good information. I hope that if it kind of interested you, or you feel maybe a connection after hearing about Baba Yaga and you want to work with her, I hope that you enjoy that experience. It is a very personal experience, and her grandmother type kind of advice and wisdom can just about always be counted on to be right on point. So if you do decide to try these meditations or any of the things I've mentioned concerning Baba Yaga, definitely message me. If you don't want to put it publicly, you can DM me on @SonOfAWitchPod on Instagram. You can also send me an email through the website, or I am going to be be posting on the website a Google Voice phone number that I have. It's a number that I got specifically for the show. So if anyone ever wants to call and leave a voicemail, maybe if you want to get on the show, just be sure to say so, and I might post it in one of the episodes. Or if you just have a question and it's a little more involved than something you really want to type out, then you can call that number and leave me a voicemail. Again, that's not my personal number, so it will just be for things related to the show. So if anybody calls and has some goofy message or something like that, I'm not even going to respond. This is exclusively for the listeners and things like that. So, all right, guys, that is the show. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, leave me a comment, leave me a review on Apple. If you listen on Apple Podcasts, leave me a review there. That's one of the few places you can do so. If you have been listening to the show and you really like it, you can go to the merch shop. That is on the website as well. I have Son of a Witch logo mugs and t-shirts and tank tops and hoodies. I also have the same things for the Witch Dad logo that I have up. And you can also check me out on Facebook, Son of a Witch Podcast. You can also here pretty soon be able to participate in my Patreon. As I pointed out in the beginning of the show, I am going to have some exclusive content there. Now, again, let me be very clear, because I had someone ask me earlier, this does not mean that you can't listen to the show without joining the Patreon. The Patreon is simply just extra additional exclusive content. And it's going to vary depending on the tier. One tier might even, when you've signed up and completed your first month, I may send you a coffee mug or something like that. So there's going to be all sorts of little goodies there. And again, just let me reiterate that the show is still going to continue just like it does, but that will just be for some exclusive content and things of that nature. So I hope that you all have a wonderful week. I thank you again for tuning in and listening to yours truly. It really makes me happy to know that I am reaching people and helping people on their path to witchcraft. If you have any comments or questions, most people that have been following for a while can tell you that I typically respond to just about everything. It might not be right away, but I will respond to you in some capacity or form. And as always, www.sonofawitchpod.com, Instagram @sonofawitchpod, Twitter @sonofawitchp, wouldn't let me do the OD for some reason, and on Facebook, Son of a Witch Podcast. Tell your friends about it. That is the biggest way that right now that you can help the show. Friends, family, anyone that you think would be interested, and just encourage them to listen to the show and see if they like it. And again, keep your ears and eyes peeled for more information about the magazine that I'm going to be published in later this month. So until next time, I hope you all have a great weekend, and next week, and I will talk to you very, very, very soon.